frozen silencithy sky above the moon was black and endless. Stars hung like cold diamonds. The ground was nothing but snow, ice, and silence. Nothing moved. Nothing lived. Or so they thought. Commander Jace Morgan stepped out of the spaceship. Echo 7, his boots crunching into the icy surface. His breath turned into mist in the air. The cold was sharp, even through his thermal suit. "Jace, do not go too far." The voice of his captain came through the radio. "There's no life here." But Jace wasn't so sure. An hour ago, the ship had picked up a strange signal. It was weak, like a heartbeat on the edge of death. No one else wanted to follow it. Jace did. He walked slowly, holding a scanner in his gloved hand. The signal was getting stronger. The scanner beeped faster. Something or someone was out there. Then he saw her small figure lay half buried in the snow. She was no taller than a child, her skin light blue, her hair white as frost. She wasn't wearing any kind of spacesuit, just a thin cloth wrapped around her body. Her fingers were frozen. Her lips were purple. She looked like a doll left in the cold. Jace dropped to his knees beside her. He touched her cheek. It was like ice. "Oh God," he whispered. "You're still alive." The scanner showed a heartbeat very weak, but still there. He picked her up gently. She was light, like feathers. She didn't move. Her head rested on his shoulder, her tiny hand hanging limp. "Jace, what the hell are you doing?" The captain's voice came again. "Found something," Jace said. "Know someone." "You what?" "She's alive. I'm bringing her back." "Don't." "That's a direct order." But Jace didn't answer. He was already running back toward the ship. Inside Echo 7, the other crew members stared as Jace entered, carrying the frozen girl. "Is that an alien child?" one of them asked. Jace ignored them. He took her to the medical bay and placed her on the table. The medical AI scanned her body and clicked into emergency mode. "Warning. Life signs critical. Initiating thermal recovery." Warm lights lit up above her. Gentle heat wrapped around her body. Jace sat beside her, watching, waiting. For an hour, nothing happened. Then slowly, she moved. Her eyes opened. They were silver and glowing. She blinked, weakly, trying to focus. "It's okay," Jace said softly. "You're safe now." She flinched at the sound of his voice and tried to move away, but she was too weak. Her eyes filled with fear. She whispered something. A word Jace didn't understand. It sounded like Kea. Then she passed out again. Jace frowned. That word, it didn't match any known alien languages. He looked at the scans. Her DNA didn't match any species Earth had ever met. She was completely unknown. The captain stormed into the medbay. "You brought a possible threat onto our ship. What if she's dangerous?" "She's a child," Jace replied. "She would have died out there. You disobeyed orders. You risked this entire mission." "She needed help," Jace said simply. "That's what humans do." The captain glared at him but said nothing more. He turned and walked out. Later that night, while the crew slept, Jace stayed with the girl. He watched her chest rise and fall slowly. Her body was warming up. Color had returned to her cheeks. She looked so fragile, so lost. Jace thought of his little sister back on Earth. She had died when he was a kid. Cold had taken her too. He couldn't save her. Maybe this time, he could save someone. The girl moved again. Her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened this time wider. She looked at Jace, not with fear, but with confusion. He smiled gently. "Hey, can you understand me?" She didn't answer. She just stared. Jace took a thermal blanket and wrapped it around her. She didn't pull away this time. Her eyes slowly closed again, but this time, she looked peaceful. As Jace sat beside her, the lights in the medbay flickered. "Huh," he muttered. "Must be the power system acting up again." But deep inside the ship, something else stirred. The scanners picked up another signal, darker, colder, and hidden under layers of static. And no one noticed it yet. Not even Jace. But something was coming, and it wasn't friendly. Heat and trust. The girl didn't wake up again that night. Jace stayed beside her, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest. Every now and then, her fingers twitched like she was dreaming of something far away, something cold and terrifying. He didn't leave her side. The next morning, the mood on the ship was tense. Captain Rhodes stood in the command deck with his arms crossed, staring at the security footage of Jace carrying the alien girl into the ship. "I want her in quarantine," he said. "She could be infected. She could be dangerous. Or worse, bait." "Bait for what?" Lieutenant Vale asked. "Exactly what I want to find out." Meanwhile, in the medbay, Jace checked the girl's vitals. She was stable, but still too weak to move. Her breathing had improved, and her skin was warming. The medical AI had even removed the frostbite from her fingers. Using healing light, she looked peaceful, like a sleeping statue. Jace sat on the edge of the bed and spoke softly. "You know, I don't even know your name. Maybe I should give you one." He thought for a moment. "How about Neri? It sounds soft, like you." The girl didn't respond, but her fingers moved slightly, curling toward the warmth of the blanket. Jace smiled. "Neri it is." Later, the captain came down to see her. "She's not staying," Rhodes said firmly. "We've already sent a request to Earth Command. They want her transported to the nearest research outpost." "She's not a lab rat," Jace said. "She's scared. She's a child. She's an unknown species, Jace. She's not our responsibility." "She is now," Jace snapped. "She would have died if I hadn't gone after her." "Doesn't that mean anything?" Captain Rhodes didn't answer. He just stared at Neri for a long cold moment, then walked out without another word. That night, something strange happened. Jace woke up suddenly. His room was glowing, faint blue lights dancing across the walls like northern lights. He looked around, confused. Then he saw her. Neri. She was standing in the corner of his room, wrapped in a thermal blanket. Her bare feet made no sound on the cold floor. Her silver eyes stared at him, not afraid, but curious. "Hey," he said softly, sitting up. "You're awake." She didn't speak. Slowly, she reached out a hand and touched the metal wall. As her fingers brushed against it, the ship's lights flickered again. The strange blue glow around her got brighter for a moment, then faded. Jace stood up carefully. "Neri, what are you?" She looked at him, then pointed to herself. "Neri," she repeated, in a soft, broken voice. Jace smiled. "You understood me." She nodded once, but her eyes weren't smiling. Then she whispered something else. "Run." The next morning, things got weirder. The ship's systems began to fail one by one. The water recycler went offline. The heating system glitched and dropped the internal temperature by 10 degrees. The AI started speaking in a distorted voice. "Warning, warning, entity detected. Life form should not be on this ship." Jay stood in the control room, staring at the AI screen. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. "She does not belong here. You have brought it closer." "Brought what closer?" The screen flickered violently. Then the lights went out. For 10 full seconds, there was nothing but darkness and silence. When the backup lights came on, something cold moved through the air, like a whisper. Back in the medbay, Neri was awake. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, her small hands folded in her lap. Jace entered quietly. "You okay?" She nodded once. "You said, run. Why?" She looked up at him, slowly. Then she touched her chest with one hand and held the other out in the air, as if pointing at something invisible. Then she whispered, "It follows me." "What follows you?" She didn't answer. She just looked sad. Jace knelt in front of her. "Listen, you're safe here. I promise. Nothing's going to hurt you." Her eyes stared into his, deep and endless like the stars outside. "I am not safe," she said quietly. "And now, you are not either." That night, the crew vanished, one by one. First, Lieutenant Vale, gone from her room. No signs of struggle, no damage, just missing. Then Engineer Kato, then Medic Jin, all gone without a sound, without a trace. The only people left on board were Jace, the captain, and Neri. Captain Rhodes locked himself in the control room, refusing to come out. "I told you she's dangerous," he shouted through the intercom. "She's brought death on this ship. She's just a girl." Jace yelled back, "She's a curse." Jace returned to his quarters and found Neri, sitting by the window, staring at the stars. He sat beside her. "Everyone's afraid of you, know," she said quietly. "You're not scared?" I was. Now, I'm just cold. Jace reached out and gently held her hand. It was still cold, but not as cold as before. I'm not afraid of you, he said. She looked at him. You should be. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. The walls creaked with a sound like distant thunder. Jace stood up, alert. The window in the corner started to frost over. But from the inside, Neri stood slowly. It's here, she whispered, down the hallway. The ship's alarms began to scream. A dark shadow moved past the door. No footsteps, no sound, just cold, biting, soul-deep cold. Neri stepped back, her body trembling. Jace looked at her. What is it? She didn't answer. She just whispered. The silence. The signal-silence, but not the normal kind. This silence felt alive. It pushed against the walls of the ship, thick and heavy like fog made of ice. The lights on the ship flickered again. Not just in Jace's room, everywhere. Doors stopped responding. The heating system tried to restart, but failed. Temperatures dropped. Oxygen scrubbers slowed. And in the middle of it all stood Neri. Small, barefoot, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. She turned to Jace. We don't have much time. Time for what? He asked. She looked up. Before it wakes up. 2 hours earlier, Captain Rhodes had finally opened the secure room. His voice was calmer now, but his eyes had the wild look of someone who hadn't slept. We need to talk, he said. Jace followed him to the control deck. Neri stayed behind, drawing strange shapes on the metal floor with her finger symbols glowing briefly before fading. In the command room, Rhodes pointed at the scanner feed. You see this? He said, jabbing a finger at a pulsing green blip. That's where I found her, Jace said. Yes, but that's not what I'm talking about. He pressed a few buttons. The signal changed. It zoomed out. Behind the spot where Neri was discovered, something else was hidden. A second signal. Stronger, deeper, older. It started pulsing exactly when you brought her in, Rhodes said. It's like something woke up when she arrived. Jace stared at the screen. The second signal was strange, like a repeating echo. But the audio analysis showed something terrifying. The signal wasn't random. It was a language, a pattern. Rhodes played the decoded audio, and it spoke just one word. Run. Back in Jace's quarters, Neri was quiet again. She had stopped drawing and now just sat on the floor, knees pulled to her chest. You knew, Jace said softly, kneeling next to her, about the signal. She didn't answer. You knew this thing, the silence, was following you, she whispered. It doesn't follow me. It wants me. It was made to find me. Why? She looked up, her expression almost too old for such a small face. My people made it. A long time ago. Before I was born. Before the ice. Neri slowly began to tell him the truth. Her race had once lived on that moon, hundreds of them, in tall cities made of glowing crystals and light. They were peaceful, gifted with strange powers tied to emotion and memory. Their warmth came, not just from machines, but from each other. But then came war. Some of her kind wanted to leave the moon and take their power to other worlds. Others wanted to stay. So, they built the silence of force, designed to stop emotion, to stop connection, to stop feeling. They thought it would bring peace, but instead, it brought death. The silence didn't just freeze bodies, it froze souls. It sucked out warmth, light, and life. It couldn't be stopped. So they froze themselves, deep underground, hoping to outlast it. Neri had been the last one placed into cryo-sleep, a child, chosen because she still carried the emotional link to the core of her people's power. A living key, but something woke her early. And when she ran, the silence followed. Jace stood up. We need to leave this moon. Neri shook her head. If we leave now, it will follow. It will find others. It must be stopped here. And how do we stop something that freezes sound? She paused. We find the signal source, the deep one. We destroy it, but we don't even know where it is. She turned to the wall and pressed her hand flat against the metal. The wall glowed. Just for a second, a new map appeared on Jace's wrist scanner. A tunnel, deep below the surface, under the ice, hidden. She looked at him. I remember. Now, They suited up and prepared to go. Captain Rhodes refused to join. "You're walking into a trap," he warned. "Maybe," Jace replied. "But sitting here hasn't exactly been safe either." He paused before leaving and looked at Rhodes. "Lock the ship. If we're not back in 6 hours, leave orbit. Tell Earth to never come here." Rhodes didn't argue. The surface of the moon was even colder now. The stars were hidden behind dark clouds. Jace's boots crunched on ice. Neri walked beside him, her small frame wrapped in thermal layers. They reached the old cave entrance within the hour. It was sealed with crystal ancient, cracked, and humming faintly. Neri raised her hand. The crystals melted like snow under fire. The tunnel inside was glowing faint blue. Alien symbols ran along the walls. The air was still. Too still. As they walked deeper, Jace felt something pressing against his thoughts. Like a whisper without words. A memory that wasn't his. Down. Down they went. The walls started changing. No more smooth crystal, now black rock with deep scratches. Not made by tools. Made by something alive. Then they saw it. A giant room. At the center stood a huge machine, round, pulsing, ancient. Wires reached from it like frozen veins. In its core was a black crystal, spinning slowly. Neri stopped. "That's the signal source." They stepped closer, but then the temperature dropped fast. Ice formed instantly on Jace's suit. The room dimmed. Then came the sound, or the lack of sound. Everything stopped. Even the hum of the machine. Even Jace's heartbeat felt slower. Out of the shadows, it appeared. The silence. Not a creature, not a shape, just a presence. Like death given form. A moving fog of black frost, creeping across the ground. Neri clutched her head. "It knows I'm here." Jace grabbed her hand. "We finish this. Now." They reached the machine. Neri placed her hand on the spinning crystal. It burned her skin, but she didn't stop. "Give me your memories," she said. "What?" "Your warmth. Your story." Jace hesitated, then placed his hand over hers. In that moment, the machine lit up. Flashes of his life, his sister, his childhood, his laughter, his regrets flowed into the core. The cold screamed. The silence recoiled. The black crystal cracked. A wave of heat exploded outward. Then, quiet. Real quiet. Warmth. The silence was gone. For now, Jace collapsed, barely breathing. Neri knelt beside him. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "For now." But deep in the dark, behind the cracks in the crystal, something still whispered. "Contact." Lost light was fading. Jace opened his eyes slowly. The air smelled like burning ice and static electricity. He was lying on the cave floor, next to the shattered core. The black crystal that once pulsed like a heart was now cracked open, silent. Neri sat beside him, breathing hard. Her hands were burned, but her eyes still glowed softly in the dark. "Is it over?" Jace asked, voice dry. She didn't answer, just stared at the broken crystal, as if she was waiting for it to move again. They climbed back to the surface. Step by step, the wind outside had stopped. The sky was still, too still. Jace's suit said the temperature had risen barely. It was still cold enough to kill a man in minutes, but not frozen solid in one breath cold like before. "Whatever it was," Jace said. "I think we heard it." Neri didn't respond. She was holding something, a small shard of the crystal glowing, faint red. He looked at her, worried. "Why'd you take that?" She glanced at him. "Because this wasn't its heart, just its mouth." Jace felt a chill go down his spine. "Then where's the heart?" She didn't know, and that terrified her. Back on the ship, things had changed. The lights were dim. Emergency power only. The main hallway was silent. No sign of Rhodes. Jace called out. "Captain," no answer. He checked the security system, frozen. The cameras weren't showing anything, except static. And then, briefly, a single image. The captain, standing alone in the command room, eyes wide. Behind him, a shadow creeping up the wall. A shape that shouldn't exist. Then the feed cut off. They found Rhodes locked in the control room. Still alive. Barely. He was staring at the wall, mumbling to himself. "It's inside the signal," he whispered. "It's in the wires." In the sound, Jace tried to get through to him. Roads. Look at me. We destroyed the source. The captain shook his head. No, no, no. That was just the outer shell. It's still in here. In the ship. It talks. Through the tech. Through the silence. Neri stepped forward. He's not wrong. What? She pointed at the walls. The silence doesn't just freeze flesh. It eats energy, memory, communication. Jace's blood went cold. That's why Earth isn't answering us. He rushed to the comms deck. Sure enough, the long-range signal beacon was dead. Not broken, just empty. No signal, no echo, not even static. Like sound itself refused to move. He checked the logs. The last message Earth received from Echo 7 was 5 hours ago. After that, nothing. They were cut off, floating alone in space. Jace sat in the dark, hands pressed to his face. Okay, think. If it's in the ship now, how do we get it out? Neri looked up. You don't. He stared at her. You survive it, she added. By doing what? Singing Kumbaya in a freezer? She didn't smile. Not even close. By staying warm. Not just body warm, mind warm, emotionally connected. The silence is strongest where there's fear, doubt, isolation. Jace laughed bitterly. Great. So the only way to beat it is to feel things? Yes, she said. Or it wins. That night, Jace and Neri stayed in the mess hall. It had backup heat panels and an old radio playing soft static. Jace pulled out a photo from his inner jacket, his sister, from back on Earth. She died when I was 9, he told Neri. Fell through a frozen lake. I was supposed to watch her, but I was reading comic books. She didn't come back up. Neri looked at the photo, then at him. That guilt you carry, she said, keeps you warm. He blinked. That is a weird thing to say. It means you still care, still feel. That makes you stronger than the silence. Suddenly, the lights flickered, the radio squealed. Then, a voice, not human, not Neri, low, echoed, twisted. You are alone. She is lying. Jace froze. The voice repeated. She is the seed. She brings the silence. She will burn your world. The lights went out. Pitch black. Neri whispered, don't listen. Jace grabbed her hand. The radio kept whispering. She is not a child. She is the door. Then silence again. The lights returned after a few minutes. Jace looked at Neri. His face was pale. Is it true? He asked. Are you a door? She didn't move. Then she nodded. Not by choice, she said. I was made to be a living key. My memories open what was locked. My feelings power it. That's why they hid me. Jace backed away slightly. And now it wants you back, he said. Neri's eyes shimmered. It doesn't want me back, she whispered. It wants to use me. Suddenly, the alarm blared. Power surge. Reactor breach. They ran to the engineering deck. The backup reactor, last source of power, was overheating. Systems failing, Jace shouted. We need to cool it. Neri ran to the panel. Her hand hovered over it. I can stabilize it, but I need a link. Your thoughts, your warmth. Now. Jace didn't hesitate. He reached out and grabbed her hand. In that instant, his mind flooded with memories, old songs. Warm sun, his sister laughing, even the feel of earth wind on his face. The reactor dimmed, stabilized, but not without a cost. Smoke poured from the vents. The silence had been watching, and now, it was angry. Rhodes' final message came through the ship's paw as static cleared. His voice, weak and trembling. If you're hearing this, do not trust her. She's not a child. She's a keyhole to something worse. Do what I couldn't. Close the door. Forever. Then, silence. No more Rhodes. Just two left, Jace and Neri. The last fire there were only two of them now. The ship was dying, slowly, quietly, like it had already accepted its fate. The backup power was hanging on by threads. The hallway lights were now nothing but red emergency glows blinking every few seconds, like a slow, dying heartbeat. Jace sat in the control room, staring at the blank screen where Earth's signal used to be. Nothing, still nothing. Neri stood by the window, looking out at the stars. Her silver eyes reflected the dark. Jace spoke without turning. How much longer until it finds us? It already has, she replied. It's waiting. For what? For me to open the rest. Jace finally turned to her. You said the crystal we destroyed was just its mouth. If that's true, where's the rest of it? Neri paused. She pointed at the center of the screen, at the icy moon they had just escaped from. The silence is under the surface, she said. It sleeps deep inside the old core, beneath everything. The crystal was just one of its teeth. Jace stood slowly. So we didn't kill it, no, she said softly. We made it hungry. They both knew what had to be done. There was only one way to stop the silence. Burn it. All of it. The moon's ancient tunnels still had an old fusion core, built by Neri's people long ago, now buried in ice and regret. If they could overload it, turn it into a bomb, they might be able to collapse the tunnels and bury the silence forever. But someone had to go down there, and someone had to stay behind to trigger the detonation manually. I'll do it, Jay said. No, Neri replied, without hesitation. You're the key. It wants you, exactly. That's why I go. You don't even know how to use the fusion core. You'll guide me, she said. Through the link. Jace shook his head. You could die. I already died once. When they froze me. This time, choose it. Jace looked away. His fists clenched. There has to be another way. There isn't. They prepped the plan in silence. Neri suited up again. Her small frame disappeared inside layers of heat-resistant armor. Jace patched her through to the ship systems. If the connection held, he could monitor her vitals and guide her to the core. They didn't speak much. There was nothing left to say. She stepped into the drop chamber. Before the door sealed, Jace said quietly, "Come back." Neri looked at him for a long second. If I do, will you take me to Earth? Jace smiled sadly. I'll buy you a dog. She tilted her head. A what? Exactly. The door closed. The descent was worse than before. The tunnels had changed. The ice was darker, cracked. The walls now pulsed slightly like veins. Like the moon itself had become alive and angry. Jace watched from the ship, eyes locked on the screen. Neri, do you hear me? Barely, her voice came back. The link is weak. Keep moving. You're close. She moved deeper into the heart of the moon. Then suddenly, the screen blinked. Static filled the display, and a voice came through, not Neri's. Not human. A whisper. She lies. She will bring the fire. Jace stared at the screen. Let her go. Save yourself. She is not what you think. Jace nearly ripped off his headset, but something in him refused. He slammed a hand on the console. No, you don't get to twist me. Not again. He spoke into the mic. Neri, if you can hear me, ignore it. Stay focused. No response. Then a weak voice. Jace, I'm scared. She was standing at the edge of the ancient reactor now. It looked like a heart. Giant. Hollow. Pulsing weak blue light. The old controls were cracked. Alien symbols faded, but still glowing slightly. Neri stepped forward. The ground under her feet shook. It knows I'm here, she said softly. Begin the override, Jace instructed. Just like I showed you. She placed her hands on the panel. The interface lit up, and so did the walls. The silence knew, and it was coming. The tunnel behind her began to fill with dark fog. Whispers. Cold. The sound of silence that screamed. She continued typing. Her fingers moved faster now. The reactor responded. The temperature rose. Pressure climbed. Jace watched from above. You're doing it. Keep going. Then, her hand froze. The symbols on the panel changed. Jace, she whispered. It's showing me things. What kind of things? Earth. Fire. Cities in ruins. You. Dead. It's trying to scare you. It's all lies. No, she whispered. It's showing me what I could do. Her body trembled. I'm the door, remember? She said. If I survive this, I could bring the silence to Earth. Jace's heart sank. Neri, I'd destroy everything, she whispered. Maybe Rhodes was right. Jace leaned into the mic. I don't care what you were made for. I care about what you've chosen. She said nothing for a moment. Then her hand moved. Again, the countdown began. 3 minutes. Run, she told Jace. Now. I'm not leaving you. You have to. You promised me a dog, remember? Jace laughed through tears. You're using that against me now? I learned from the best. He ran to the escape pod. The ship creaked around him. Lights exploded. The walls cracked. The silence was everywhere now. Angry, writhing, but he kept going. He launched the pod just as the reactor hit critical. From space, he saw it. The moon glowed, then exploded. A burst of fire, color, and silence so deep it swallowed stars. And then, peace. The pod floated alone for hours. Jace sat in silence, staring out at the debris. No signal. No earth. No voice. Just memory. Then the pod screen blinked. Incoming transmission. Signal. Weak, but alive. One word came through. Woof. Burn the dark. The stars were quiet now. Jace floated in the escape pod, staring out at the place where the moon used to be. Just minutes ago, it had exploded in a massive burst of light, fire, and finality. He had watched it burn, watched it vanish, watched her vanish. Nary, he whispered, the coms were dead again. No signal, no sound, no hope, until a single woof had crackled through the speaker. At first, Jace thought he imagined it, a dream, a dying memory. But now, the signal light blinked again. Weak, fragmented, familiar. He activated the receiver. Nary, is that you? Only static answered. Then just faintly a voice. Cold. Hurts. Not gone. Not alone. Jace's pulse jumped. He sat up straight in the pod. She's alive. She's alive. He quickly rerouted power to boost the comms and tried to trace the source. The signal wasn't coming from the moon's ruins. It was coming from inside the debris field. She's in there, he whispered. Somehow, back in the broken orbit of the destroyed moon, something moved. A dark shape, slowly turning. Not wreckage, not stone. A pod, half burned, alien in design, covered in frost and glowing with faint red lines. Inside it, Nary, her body floated, eyes closed, surrounded by shimmering light. She wasn't dead, not yet, but something had changed. The shard of crystal she'd taken from the reactor was now embedded in her chest. Not through force, through fusion, like it had chosen her, and it was still beating. Jace piloted his escape pod closer to the debris field. It was dangerous. Bits of metal, ice, and sharp fragments floated everywhere like knives in zero gravity. He moved carefully, using only bursts of short thrusters. Then, he saw her, the alien pod, and her sleeping inside. He whispered, I've got you. With manual controls, Jace attached a tether, cracked the outer seal, and pulled her into the pod. The moment she entered, the temperature dropped. Fast. Frost spread across the walls. The pod system blinked warnings. Core temp unstable. External source detected. Nary opened her eyes, but they weren't silver anymore. They were burning red and gold. Jace, she said weakly, her voice echoing strangely. He knelt beside her. I thought you were gone. I was almost. I saw everything. The moon, the cities, my people, my purpose. What do you mean? The silence didn't die. The blast didn't destroy it. It freed it. Jace's stomach sank. No, we won. She shook her head. No, we opened the door wider. He looked at the glowing crystal in her chest. You're connected to it now, aren't you? I always was. But now, it hears me. Suddenly, the pod lights turned red. New alarm. Proximity alert. Unidentified object approaching. Fast. Jace spun to the window. Something massive was coming. Not a ship. Not debris. A living shape. Dark. Cold. Twisting like smoke and shadow. Stretching across space like a dying star's whisper. The silence had taken form. And no longer hiding in signals. It was alive. It found us, Nary said. It knows I carry the last spark. What spark? The flame my people buried in me. It was supposed to die with me. But when you gave me your memories, your warmth, it lit the core. Jace remembered the stories, the laughs, the pain. His life had somehow fused with her, and the silence hated that. The pod shook. The shadow passed over them like a solar eclipse. Frost crept across the window from the outside. Systems began shutting down. Jace yelled, "We have to get out of here. There's no ship, no backup." Neri said, "Just us." Jace's voice cracked. "Then what? We wait to freeze?" She looked at him, serious now. "No, we fight." "How?" he asked, heart pounding. Neri reached out and touched the side panel. Her touch burned through the frost. The lights reacted glowing gold where her fingers passed. "The shard inside me. It's not just power, it's memory. If I use it, I can connect to the silence directly." Jace stared. "You mean, talk to it?" "Not talk. Burn it. But it'll kill you." "I know, no." "Neri, no. You said we fight, not sacrifice." She smiled softly. "Every fire needs a spark." Jace grabbed her hand. "Then we both go in. Together." She hesitated. "You're only human," she said. He smiled. "Exactly. That's why I'm dangerous." She placed her hand on his forehead. The crystal pulsed. Light exploded behind his eyes, and suddenly they weren't in the pod anymore. They were inside the silence, a black ocean of thought. No sound, no light, just memories frozen, cracked, echoing. Jace floated beside Neri, connected by light. Around them, shadows of the silence whispered, "Hope is weakness. Warmth is a lie. Feelings lead to death." Jace shouted back, "Then I choose death over you." He reached into his memories, his sister, Earth Sky, Neri's first smile, a hot cup of coffee, laughter, pain, fear, love. He pushed it all into the dark. It screamed. The silence screamed. The darkness cracked. Light burst through. Neri raised her hands. Her entire body was glowing now, and in a voice loud and full of life, she roared, "I am not your door. I am your end." They unleashed everything: emotion, memory, fire. The silence broke apart like glass. One final flash, then darkness. Real darkness. Peaceful. Jace woke up inside the pod. Alone. Again. He looked beside. Neri was gone. The crystal? Gone. Just silence. This time. The good kind. He drifted for hours before the rescue team found him. They brought him aboard a relay ship headed back to Earth. He told them everything. They didn't believe half of it, but when they scanned his DNA, they found something strange, something not quite human anymore. He stood at the window of the Earthbound ship, staring at the stars, and whispered, "You're still out there, aren't you?" The stars didn't answer, but just before he turned away, the glass fogged up slightly, and on it, a tiny, glowing fingerprint. Warmth and hope. This is where answers arrive, where hearts heal, where humanity shows why we never lose to the dark. Earth orbit. 2 weeks later, Commander Jace Morgan stood on the platform of the Earth Medical Command space station. Clean, bright, warm. Too warm, maybe. Everything around him felt wrong. Too many people, too much noise, too alive. After everything he'd seen, Neri was gone. The silence was shattered, and somehow, he'd survived. That was the problem. He didn't feel like a survivor. He felt like a puzzle piece from the wrong box. The doctors didn't know what to do with him. Physically, he was fine. Mentally, still answering questions from people in lab coats who had never even left orbit. They scanned his brain, his blood, his bones. What they found: strange energy patterns, neural spikes they called, non-human emotional frequencies. Basically, his feelings weren't normal anymore. One scientist whispered it like a threat. "He's been rewired." Jace overheard it. He didn't argue. He just stared out the window at the stars, searching for something that wasn't there anymore. But he wasn't alone for long. Late one night, a knock on his temporary door. Sharp, rhythmic. He opened it to find a young girl, no older than 7, dark eyes, messy hair, holding a clipboard bigger than her head. "You're the guy with the space ghost girlfriend?" she asked. Jace blinked. "Excuse me, I'm here for your therapy," she said. "Dr. Willow, Junior Division." He smiled for the first time in days. "You're joking." She pushed past him. "I take snacks as payment." Over the next few days, the therapy became routine. Dr. Willow sat across from him, swinging her legs, asking hard questions in a way no adult ever could. Did you love her? She asked one day. Jace paused. I don't know. I cared. I felt connected. She was your fire, Willow said, nodding like a wise monk. He frowned. What do you mean? You were ice before, she said. Cold inside. Scared to feel. Jace looked away. You're warm now, she added. Even when you're sad. Weeks passed. News of the Echo 7 event spread. Most didn't believe it. The official report said, unstable alien energy caused mental hallucinations and structural damage. The commander acted heroically. No mention of Neri. No mention of the silence. No mention of the truth. Jace hated it. But he couldn't fight Earth Command. Not yet. One night, the stars pulls. Jace sat alone on the rooftop garden of the station, watching the sky, whispering, where are you? A soft breeze passed him. Impossible inside a sealed station. But it happened. Then, the screen on his wrist blinked. Incoming signal encrypted, unknown source. He tapped it open. A voice played. Soft. Familiar. Cold. Hurts less now. I remember laughter. And your sister's name. Jace froze. That voice.it was her. He rushed to the comms lab, bypassed 2 security officers, and connected the signal to the external scanners. What he found was impossible. A floating mass of light, just outside orbit. No ship, no heat signature, no life signs, but the signal was clear. Inside the light, a memory, a living one, Neri, or what was left of her. The scientists ran tests. She's not physical anymore, they said. She's stored. In what? Jace asked. In a quantum loop. A memory engine. She's alive as a pattern. Jace understood before they even explained. She had used the silence's own architecture, turned its emptiness into a vessel, a digital cocoon made of warmth. She wasn't dead, just transformed. Earth Command wanted to isolate the anomaly, secure it, contain it, study it. Jace said one word. No. 3 nights later, Jace made his move. He snuck back into the observation deck where the memory light hovered in orbit. He activated the ship's smallest shuttle, barely a cockpit, with engines, and launched straight toward her. Inside the shuttle, the lights dimmed. Systems flickered. Not in danger, just adjusting. Jace heard her voice again. Why did you come? Because I made a promise, he said, to take you home. There was silence. Then, you never told me what a dog was. He laughed. Ugly. Little creature. Barks a lot. Wags its tail when it's happy. I think I would like dogs. I think one would love you. The pod glowed brighter. The light wrapped around the shuttle like a hug. And then she appeared. Not fully human. Not alien either. A shape of light and memory. Her eyes still silver. Her smile still Neri's. I can't stay on Earth, she said. I know. But I can learn. I'll eat you. They stared at each other in silence. Not the scary kind. The beautiful kind. Back on Earth, a new star appeared in the sky. Tiny. Moving. Bright. They called it the Hope Beacon. Said it was a satellite. Said it was a coincidence. Jace never told them the truth. That it was a ship. Small. Quiet. Carrying 2 souls. One made of memory. One made of fire. They traveled together, exploring ruins. Signals. Forgotten worlds. He told her stories. She taught him to dream again. They lit dark places with laughter and feeling. And the silence? It stayed gone. Because the fire they carried now would never go out.